Hey, do you prefer to find the joy in life, or do you just want some help with that? If so, you're in the right place. So come on in and join the Joy Bunny clan. This is the My Slice of Life podcast. Welcome to the My Slice of Life podcast. My name is Sharon and I am your very own Highland host, and apparently one of the few Scots who can actually say the phrase purple burglar alarm. Have you seen that one on your YouTube feed yet? Oh man, there's a whole lot of videos about words which we struggle to say apparently, and purple burglar alarm is one of them. I don't have a purple burglar alarm, so I don't suppose it's going to cause me any problems, but I just wanted to mention I can actually say it. Anyway, back to business. This is season 5, or Let's Get Gardening as it's called. This week I am bringing you a basket full of ideas to put the fun back into your garden. Gardens should be fun, not a chore. I have said it before, but I'm going to say it again. I always feel really sad when I hear folk complaining about having to cut the grass or weed, and that's all they see their garden as. Or worse, they just cover it in concrete so they can park their car on it. Oh, it should be a space that you can relax in. It should be your very own personal oasis away from all the hustle and bustle, but it doesn't mean that it can't be fun too. So that is what we're going to delve into today. And just a quick reminder, as if you need one by now, keep sharing this little old podcast, please. Remember, sharing is caring. And don't forget to check out my blog and YouTube channel too. The links are below. And do you know what? Subscribing to all 3 is absolutely free. It will not cost you a penny or a cent or whatever else you have. But it really helps me. It helps me a lot because it will help other people to find me. That would be lovely. So I'll thank you now and just hope the guilt actually makes you do it. Now let's have some gardening fun, shall we? Right. If you are new here, you won't know I have an allotment, which is basically a plot of land which you can rent from the local council to grow food on. I know Germany have similar things, and many other places have things like community gardens and, that kind of thing. Our plot is 20 metres by 10 metres, and in case you haven't understood what I've just said, because I know that's really quite foreign to a lot of people, that's about 65 feet by 33 feet, roughly. We've had a plot for about 12 years now, and we've always taken dearest son up there, which isn't as easy as it sounds. So, kids and gardening sounds simple, and it is when they're young. But when they get older, it does become more of a challenge. And we've had to come up with quite a few ideas to try and make it more fun for him, especially as he's gotten older. I mean, I'm now competing with online gaming. So, yeah, it's quite the challenge, as you can imagine. But something which has really taken off for us is the annual pumpkin growing competition. And if you have room, this is great. I mean, I'm not joking. It's starting to get a little serious. Our son isn't the keenest gardener in the world, So what happens is I start the plants off and then he gets to pick which one he wants and he plants it out. I'm hoping eventually we can go back a step and have him actually do the whole process, which he used to. But to keep him interested at least a little, this is what we're doing at the moment. And last year, his pumpkin came in at over £50 and mine was just over £30. So he was delighted. I was a little miffed, if I'm honest, but I was happy that he was at least taking an interest. And another crowd pleaser, don't forget, is the humble sunflower. I mean, I just love seeing them in a garden. We did sow them together this year. Took ages, but sadly, our seedlings were attacked by slugs. They are a major problem this year. So we have resown a whole batch. It's a waiting game now. I am out there every day keeping an eye on these things, and I was so annoyed though because you want your kids to be excited by gardening, and our son, he took so much care to sow these sunflowers the first time he did it. Oh, I really want to make sure he gets a few good ones in the garden, or, that we put round the allotment this year. I don't want him to lose the interest. I mean, one year we grew a sunflower, it was just under 7 feet tall. He was delighted with that, as you can imagine. So fingers crossed that we at least get something. Now, if you are not growing pumpkins, and whether or not you're doing sunflowers, Something I'm going to suggest that you do in the garden this year to keep it fun is growing some unusual veg. Have you ever grown is a squash called tromboncino. It's an Italian courgette, but it can be left to grow as a squash. You might have seen them. Okay, I'll try and describe it if you haven't seen them. They can be grown up a trellis, or I believe you can leave them to grow along the ground if you don't have an invasion of slugs and snails that will just eat them. But when they grow really long fruits. Obviously tromboncino, think a trombone. These long courgettes will grow and grow, and they can be like 3 feet long. They are incredible. And if you do leave them to grow on the ground, they will curve, so you get this weird big curvy veg. You can eat them like courgettes or zucchini, but if you leave them to keep growing on the plant, they will turn orange instead of green, and you can have them like a squash. I only found that out last year. I have been growing these things as courgettes for years. Well, yeah, actually, it's quite a long time I've been doing it, and last year I went, what? Why is it orange? Why is it gone orange? Yeah, you can let them grow as a squash. And if you don't fancy that, have you ever grown salsify or scorzonera? I think that's how you say it. They're root crops. We did them, a good few years ago, and they were huge. There's one of them is said to taste like oysters. I can't remember which one it is. Could be salsify. I genuinely can't remember. I've never eaten oysters. Just the look of them puts me off, so I can't say if that's true or not. I remember, we did both of them at the same time, and I haven't done them since. I think it was the scorzonero. Made a hell of a mess of my saucepan. So a little word of warning there. But they're really interesting to grow because not many people do. And like I say, you get a huge root from them, so a lot of food. Another one you could try is loofah. Loofah plants are really good fun to grow. I haven't had a lot of success with them yet, but I'm not giving up. I'm not doing them this year, but I think I will next year. Another thing that you can consider if you're wanting to just have a bit more fun in your garden is growing unusual flowers or plants. So we've got the veg side, but what about the flowers? And I'm thinking here things like blue poppies. There's a fancier name for them. I'm not even going to attempt it and make an idiot of myself. Carnivorous plants, like the Venus flytrap. Or apparently there's a thing called purple pitcher plant. Yeah, try saying that 3 times in a row after a glass of homemade wine. But there's loads, I was looking it up actually, there's loads of weird and wonderful plants. All different colours, shapes, sizes. I think we tend to play it safe in our gardens, and I'm really starting to look now, where can I get something a little more unusual, something the neighbours won't have, something that when people walk past your garden, it stops them. That's what I'm thinking. I'm a wee bit late this year, but I'm definitely making plans for next year. I have got a plan in place that I'm working on currently in the garden, which I will come to in just a minute. I'll share it with you before I've even finished it, so it is something I'm working on. One thing I have already done in the garden, which I'm quite happy to tell you about, is add lights. I have actually added solar lights to the back garden. Yesterday, in fact, I put some solar lights around one of the trees in the front garden, and it was great last night going out and just seeing, there's a wee bit of light. It's making more of a feature of it. It just adds that little bit of sparkle at night. Everything's dark, but you see these plants lit up, and like in the back garden. In the back garden, I've got them along the fence at the back. I love it. Just that little bit of sparkle makes a huge difference. Just even a couple of lights dotted here and there around your garden can make a huge difference. You could also add some ornaments. Either make your own or go for like a statue. It doesn't have to be huge. It's just some piece of garden art to bring that little bit of interest and, again, a focal point and a bit more fun. They don't have to be serious. I've got a couple of small gnomes in the garden. Yeah, I'm confessing. So they don't have to be serious things. The next idea I have for you, they're connected. So bug hotels, if you haven't done one yet, I confess I made some pretty pathetic ones in the past. So I'm going to try and do a decent one this year. And butterfly feeders or drinking stations. I have a website that I found, which I'm going to link in the description below, because they really show some easy, straightforward butterfly feeders, and I thought, I'm going to do that because there's not very many of them in the garden this year and I want to encourage them. I know the numbers of them are going down, so I think everything we can do to say, come on in and just, here's a little bit of food for you, just look after them a little bit more. And what is better than you sitting in your garden and watching these little butterflies come in for a drink, surrounded by your lights, your statues, your unusual plants, your weird veg. Can you picture it? Because I can picture this. It's going to be so good. It's things like that that make all the difference. So that's what I'm going for this year, and I hope that you'll have a go as well. And for bug hotels, for goodness sake, you can go all out and make it a 5-star bug hotel, or you can just put a wee pile of twigs in the corner and they'll go for that. Depends what you're looking for. Okay, this next one I am really excited about because this is what I'm doing. I've put it under the headline of features, but my feature this year is a fairy garden. Yeah, I'm making a fairy garden at the back. We've got this patch, it's a bit drab, it's a bit shaded, it's not very interesting, so I thought, what can I do with it? I walked past it, take the bins past it, so I don't know where I got this idea from, it came into my head, and I thought, I'm going to do a fairy garden, and I've made a start. Like I told you, I put the lights around the tree, you've got to have lights. I've got a wee hanging fairy, she's on like a wee bouncy spring, so I hung her up in the tree last night. I got a shiny nice butterfly to hang up as well. I got 2 little toadstools that glow in the dark. They're so cute. And I'm going to get, have you seen those glow in the dark pebbles? Well, I'm going to get some of them. I've got a little fairy house. It's a planter, but it's got a wee door on it. I've got to paint it. I've got a door and you plant in it, and I've got some flower seeds to put in it. And then the glow in the dark pebbles are going to lead from that. And I'm going to put in a little pond, because, fairies need a pond. I've got loads of ideas. I will be putting it on the blog when it's finished, so if you want to see what I come up with, it's going to take me a little while, but if you want to see what the finished thing looks like, do go to the blog, subscribe to the blog and you won't miss it. But yeah, I'm thinking here, fairy gardens or miniature gardens. A lot of people are doing them. Get a nice planter and you can make just a miniature garden. What about your pathways? Could you make them more colourful? You could use colourful pebbles or stepping stones, things like that. And here's one. I want to do this as well. And I'm going to put a link in the description if you want to go and have a look at what I'm talking about. An enchanting, mythical destination signpost. I saw one. Like I say, I'll put the link so you can see it. Oh, it's amazing. You make the signpost and it's got a solar light on the top, but it's directing to places like Hogwarts and Neverland and all that kind of stuff. I thought, I need that. Just down the road from a fairy garden, I'm going to have an enchanting destination signpost. So that's what I'm going for. Don't forget as well to put in things like wind chimes. I love wind chimes. I did put one in the garden, but it must be in the wrong place because I'm not really hearing it. You can get all different sizes, so they get all different sounds depending on what you want. You could put them all over the place, just have one. It's up to you, but I love a wind chime, and I just think if you're sitting in your garden, a little breeze at night and you hear your chimes it's just lovely. It's magical. Again, the pond I mentioned, I'm putting a little pond in. I'm going to use an old tyre, just a small old tyre, and that's what I'm going to be using. So that's another idea for you. If you don't have a pond, could you put one somewhere? Even a tyre would do. Here's a question for you. When is the last time you actually had a picnic in your garden? Why don't we do that more? I love a picnic. Get a blanket, get a rug, whatever you have. Get outside, especially if you have kids. They love a picnic. Go and have one in your own garden. You don't need to go to a park. Go to the garden. And don't forget, there's 3 things I keep mentioning, and I think they'll add a lot of interest and a lot of fun to your garden, whether it's the front, the back, whatever you have. Don't forget your hanging baskets. Grow vertically. We can grow up the way. I've also got an idea for that for my front garden, but I've not even started that yet. Again, that will be in the blog when I get it done. And use as many unusual containers as you can. Look for things that look a little different, a little unusual, and use them everywhere. And speaking of growing vertically, what about putting in an arch? Either one you've bought or one you've made. This is part of my plan for the front garden this year, I hope. But you get 2 large tubs, say, put them either side of a seat if you have one, or just a window. Then you can either plant in a tree, like a wee willow, or an apple tree, pear tree either side, and as they grow up, tie them together in the middle and create your arch that way. Or I think what I'll be doing is use pruned branches or huge bamboo canes and train ivy or wisteria or another climber up and over them. That's kind of what I'm thinking I'm going to be doing this year. Hopefully this year. We'll see. Again, if I get it done, it will be on the blog. Another thing for you, if you have a shed or a wooden fence or even furniture outside, could you paint it? Bright colours, nice and cheery, brighten the whole place up. That's a nice easy job to do. Get the kids involved, the whole family could take part, and it will make a huge difference to your garden. Make it look like a lot of fun. Add some bunting, your wee flags. You could make them if you've got decent weather. Here, we have not got decent weather. I have just had a major downpour out there. So I would need plastic flags, I'm afraid, but if you can make your own, I did knit some actually. I had knitted ones out for a while, and I do that every so often and change them over, but something like that. Put up some flags, put up some bunting. Again, you put it around the shed that you've just painted, it would look fantastic. And the last thing I want to bring to you, to bring the fun into our gardens. Don't make the mistake of thinking the garden is just for during the day. Get out there at night time and do some stargazing. Why do we only use our gardens during the day? Get out there at night, look up. You never know what you're going to see up there. I tell you, we've seen all sorts of weird things, but that's a story for another day. Do some stargazing as a family, on your own. Take the dog, take the cat, have some fun. And that, friends, brings us to the end of this week's episode. So I hope I've managed to inspire you to get outside, have some fun in your garden, get creative, get the whole family involved and enjoy yourself. I'll be back next week with yet more ideas for your garden, but until then, you take care of your wee self.